Shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem, Mashiach, Yahushai. And I'm going to do this lesson titled, Remember the Rock in All Things. And we all know that Mashiach, Yahushai was that rock. So that's why I titled this, Remember the Rock in All Things. I'm going to start with 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1 through 3, and it reads, Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. So this was Apostle Paul saying that, he wanted us to be followers of him as he is of Christ. But it's, we know it's still Yahushai because he came in the volume of the book. In verse 3, But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is Yahweh. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 11. Matthew, chapter 11. I'm going to read verse 28 through 30. And it reads, Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And this is Yahushua speaking, all red letter. Verse 29, Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek. He's saying he's humble and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. Verse 30, For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So Yahushua is saying, just come on and give him all the weight. If you're carrying any baggage, weight, any issues, problems, give it to him. He'll take it on his shoulders. That's what he's saying there. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 6, and verse 33 through 34, and it reads, But seek ye first the kingdom of Yahweh and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So we got to seek the kingdom. We got to always remember, we got to keep following the rock, which is greater than us. This is what David said in Psalms, and that rock is Yahushai. Verse 34, Take therefore no thought for the morrow. Don't worry about tomorrow, he said. For the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. So he's like, I'll deal with that day when it gets here. Or when that bridge comes, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So Yahushua is saying, don't worry about all those things. I'll take care of them. Just continue to seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Hosea. Book of Hosea, chapter 4, and verse 1 through 2, and it says, Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. He has a controversy sometimes with us because we don't want to listen and just do what he said in Matthew. Just seek ye first the kingdom. Verse 2, By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out and blood touches blood. Because our people, they're just doing all this stuff that's contrary to the scriptures. So the Lord, he's not pleased. But he is pleased if we're seeking him first in all things. We have to remember the rock in all things. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 9. Daniel chapter 9, verse 10 through 13. And it reads, Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God Yahweh, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. And verse 11, Yea, all Israel have transgressed the law, thy law, Salakia, because we've all sinned and come short of the glory, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, because we have sinned against him. And then verse 12, And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as had been done upon Jerusalem. So he says nobody, no group of people have gone through what Israel has gone through, Yasharallah, because he kept his word. He kept his promises that if we obeyed to keep the commandments, we would be blessed. But if we didn't, we would be cursed. Verse 13, as it is written in the law of Moses. It goes back to Deuteronomy 28. All this evil has come upon us, yet made we not our prayer before the Lord our God, Yahweh, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth. And so, what is the understanding of the truth? He said, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do Yahweh's commandments. So that's when you're starting to get an understanding of it. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Sirach in the Apocrypha. And I'm going to go to chapter 28, verse 1 through 7. And it reads, he that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Lord, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance. So we can't take matters into our own hands. If we have a ought against a brother, we just have to go to that brother. Do it in the order that Yahushua said in Matthew. Verse 2, forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he hath done unto thee, so shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest. Because if we're holding grudges, he's not going to answer our prayers. See, that's the key to the answered prayers. If, you have to let go of those grudges or any issues you have with someone and you're holding something against them. You just need to make amends. This is what's holding us back from getting to the kingdom. Because our people, they keep going at each other and having malice and hatred and just, they don't want to be around each other. They're just doing things that are not pleasing. Verse 3, one man beareth hatred against another, and doth he seek pardon from the Lord? Says, if you're doing that stuff, he's not going to pardon you. Verse 4, he showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself. And remember in, I believe, 1 John, it says, how can a man say he loves God who he cannot see, but love his brother who he sees every day? Verse 4, he showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself, and doth he ask forgiveness of his own sins? Verse 5, if he that is but flesh nourisheth hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins? So he's saying if you're holding something, hatred against your brother or sister, he's not going to forgive you because you're still holding that grudge. Verse 6, remember thy end and let enmity cease. Let all that strife and all these barriers and obstacles that's keeping you separated from your brothers and sisters, let that come to an end, he said. Let enmity cease. Remember corruption and death and abide in the commandments. He says we got to remember the commandments and we have to do them, because if not, corruption and death, he says, for the wages of sin is death. Romans 6:23. And verse 7, remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at ignorance. He says you got to wink at that, because that's what he's been doing. He's been winking at us while we've been in the mud. Times we were in the mud, he's winked at us and gave us another opportunity. So we have to give our brothers and sisters a chance too. And from there, I'm going to stay in the Apocrypha, and I'm going to go to the book of First Maccabees. First Maccabees, and I'm going to go to chapter 1, and I'm going to read verse 41 through 50, and it reads, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Now this is during the Greek captivity. I'm going to read this little passage because I'm going to show what had happened at the time, how our people, they were forced not to keep the laws. And everyone should leave his laws. This is verse 42. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. So this is, our people were going off. This is an account of them going against the laws. For the king, verse 44, for the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. So they had conformed to the laws of the Greeks during that captivity. Verse 45, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. Verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people. So yeah, they were doing all the stuff those heathens are doing. All the pagan days, they got right into all the stuff they were practicing. Verse 47, and set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. So they started to eat pork. They were eating the abominable foods that he told us not to eat in the Levitical laws. And verse 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. Because they just went contrary to what the Lord said. They started to do profane things, things that were profane and abominable to the Most High. Verse 49, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. So they just forgot about him. Remember Jeremiah said, will a maid forget her ornaments, or a bride her wedding attire? But he says, my people have forgotten me, days without number. And verse 50 says, and whosoever would not do according to the commandments of the king, he said he should die. So they were killing our people at this time. So a lot of the people, they did it out of fear. But Yahushua told us in Matthew whom to fear. He said, fear the one that can hurt the body and cast the soul into hell. So some of our people, they didn't want to go through the torments. And from there, I'm going to jump down to verse 54 in 1 Maccabees chapter 1 still. And I'm going to read to 64, and it reads, now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. So they started getting into all their pagan days and going contrary to their own laws. And verse 55, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. 56, and when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire. And they got to the point where they started burning the scriptures up. Verse 57, and whosoever was found with any book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put him, Salakia, that they should put him to death. So if they caught us with the scriptures, or reading a Bible and teaching it, they would kill our people. Verse 58, thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the city. So whoever was doing that, they killed them. Verse 59, now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of Yahweh. Verse 60, at which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. 61, even the children they were killing. And if they seen them getting the children, they would kill the women if they were seen them doing the circumcisions with the sons. Verse 61, and they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. So they went in and ravished the women, they'd rape them, and they'd kill them. And hanged it, babies, little babies, infants, by the neck. 62, howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. But our people knew the laws, that we couldn't eat that stuff. 63, wherefore the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. But some of our people took the stance, like David said in Psalms, who will rise up for me against the workers of iniquity? Who will rise up against me for the, that's what, I was just paraphrasing what David said in Psalms, against the evildoers or the workers of iniquity. Verse 64, and there was a very great wrath upon Israel. It was a very bad time for Israel because they were killing a lot of our people. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Micah, book of Micah, and I'm going to read chapter 2, verse 1 through 2, and it reads, Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hands. So right then, the Greeks were in power. That's why they had our people doing that. Verse 2, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. So this is what was going on at that time with our people. They did it here in Astoreth when they came and killed the Gadites, the Reubenites, and stole all this land and slaughtered our brothers from the northern kingdom. And then from there, I'm going to go to the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 1 and 2. And it reads, Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. I'll just bring it out again. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of Yahweh in the land. So there was no mercy at that time. There was no mercy going on with our people, because they were destroying our people during that Greek captivity. I'm just going to stop there at verse 1. And then from there, I'm going to go to Psalms 83. Psalms 83. And I'm going to read verse 3 through 7. And it reads, They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. So this is what was going on during the Greeks, the Roman captivity, Egypt, all in this Babylon, this spiritual Egypt. They're still doing this. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Verse 5, For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And during the Civil War, they had the rebels, they had the Confederate Army. So everything is in the scriptures. Verse 6, The tabernacles of Edom, Esau, the so-called white men, and the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, they are all in cahoots. Of Moab, the Chinese, and the Hagarenes, Africans, Gabal and Ammon, the Japanese, and Amalek, the so-called Jewish, the Philistines. Now this was the South Africans, and with the inhabitants of Tyre. So they are all in cahoots. All of them were in cahoots to bring us down. All these nations. And from there I'm going to go to Revelations 22. Revelations 22. And I'm going to read verse 18 through 19, and it reads, For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, Yahweh shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. Verse 19, And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, Yahweh shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. So he's talking about the kingdom that's coming. They want to add or delete to these scriptures and take away. He's going to add to them the plagues that are written in this book. And if they're taken away, he's going to take their names out of that book of life. They're not going to the kingdom, in other words. And from there, I'm going to go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. In the Apocrypha. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 12. And it reads, 12 to 24. Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn. And this is the heathens and these other nations talking about our people here. It says, he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraided us with our offending the law, and objected to our infamy, the transgressions of our education. So they're talking about how we're against how things they're pushing, their ideology, their doctrines. 13, he professes to have the knowledge of Yahweh, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. Now they're talking about us here. He was made to reprove our thoughts. So this is the Lord putting an account of all these heathens talking about us. We were made to reprove their thoughts. He is grievous unto us, even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. Because we got the laws, statutes, and commandments from Moses on Mount Sinai when he went to Mount Sinai and Horeb. Verse 16, we are esteemed of him as counterfeits. Because, yeah, what they're doing is pushing idol gods. Yes, they are counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. Yes, all that stuff is filthy to the Most High Yahweh. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that Yahweh is his Father. And that is our Father, because he actually says that when you read the account of Matthew 6, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Verse 17, let us see if his words be true. So they're mocking the Most High here. And let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. So they're mocking us, saying, well, let's see if your God is going to do what he says. Verse 18, for if the just man be the son of Yahweh, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. Boy, these people, they got a judgment coming for this. Verse 19, let us examine with him the spitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. They're like, we're going to try him. We're going to see if he really has faith in the Most High by tormenting them and killing them. 20, let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected. Well, these people were wicked. Verse 21, such things they did imagine and were deceived, for their own wickedness had blinded them. And now that's talking about them, all those heathens. Verse 22, as for the mysteries of Yahweh, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. They never reverenced the Most High. They never had any respect for him. Verse 23, for Yahweh created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his eternity. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world. And they that do hold of his side do find it. They're gonna get judged according to their ways. In other words, like Isaiah and Jeremiah was saying, and according to the fruit of their own doings. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Isaiah. Book of Isaiah. Speaking of Isaiah, chapter 5. And I'm going to read verse 18 to 25, and it reads, woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and sin as it were with a cart rope. Verse 19, that say, let him make speed and hasten his work, that we may see it. And let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw near and come, that we may know it. So these people, they want to see. They want the Lord to prove himself, and he is going to show them. He's already showing them through the whirlwinds, tornadoes, earthquakes. He's showing them through a lot of ways. Verse 20, woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Verse 21, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes, and prudent in their own sight. Verse 22, woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink, getting into false doctrines and ideology. He said, destruction unto all of them. Verse 23, which justify the wicked for reward, and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. They always take away the rights from the Jakes, Yasharallah. They're always oppressing us, redlining us, doing all these wicked things to put obstacles in our way. 24, therefore as the fire devoureth the stubble, and the flame consumeth the shaft, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust. So this is the Lord saying what's going to be their end. Because they have cast away the law of the Lord of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. And this is actually talking about Yasharallah too. And from there I'm going to go to the book of, stay in the book of Isaiah, go to chapter 30. And read verse 1 through 3. Isaiah 30, verse 1 through 3. Then I'm going to jump down to Hosea, or jump over to Hosea 4:3. It says, "Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin." He's talking to Yasharallah here. Verse 2, "That walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt." This is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Verse 3, "Therefore shall their strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion." And from there, I'm going to jump over to Hosea chapter 4, verse 3. This is the book of Hosea. Just a few more. Past Hosea chapter 4 and verse 3, and it reads, "Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of the heaven. Yeah, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away." So the beast, he's saying, he uses wicked people as beasts. He describes wicked men as beasts, not just animals in this. And then from there, I'm going to go stay in the book of Isaiah and go to chapter 19. Isaiah 19, verse 11 through 12. And it reads, "Surely the princes of Zon are fools. The counsel of the wise counselors of Pharaoh is become brutish." This is talking about this spiritual Egypt and the leaders in this place, like Biden, Trump. "How say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of ancient kings?" Because he says the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God in Corinthians. "For as it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness." Verse 12, "Where are they? Where are thy wise men? And let them tell thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts hath purposed upon Egypt." So the Most High, he's flexing here, saying, if you want to put your trust in Egypt, let's see if they're going to save you out of all this destruction that I'm going to bring upon them. And from there, I'm going to go back to chapter 30 of Isaiah, and I'm going to read verse 8 to 15, and it reads, "Now go write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the laws of the Lord, which say to the seers, See not, and to the prophets, Prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits." So a lot of our people, they don't like hearing this truth. They rather hear the feel-good sermons. They want to hear somebody to telling them what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear. Verse 11, "Get you out of the way." So this is what they're saying about us when we go out to the highways. "Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us." They want us out of the way. Verse 12, "Wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because you despise this word, because you hate the words of God, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon." Verse 13, "Therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant." And verse 14, "And he shall break it as the breaking of the potter's vessel that is broken in pieces. He shall not spare, so that there shall not be found in the bursting of it assured, to take fire from the hearth, or to take water withal out of the pit." So he's saying when he's done with this place, you won't be able to make a fire in the fireplace, or you won't be able to get no drinking water. It's going to be so messed up and desolate. Verse 15, "For thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest shall you be saved. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength, and you would not." He's saying our people, they just don't want to do it. And from there, I'm going to jump to Wisdom of Solomon in the Apocrypha again. And I'm going to go to chapter 3 and read verse 1 and then jump to 9 through 11. And it says, "But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of Yahweh, and there shall no torment touch them." Here's the good news. The souls of the righteous are in the hands of Yahweh, the Most High, and there shall no torment touch them. Now I'm going to jump down to verse 9 through 11. And it reads, They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints, and he hath care for his elect. So the ones that stay obedient to these laws, he's going to take care of you. He says he has care for his elect. Verse 10, But the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which have neglected the righteous and forsaken the Lord. So they're going to get it, all the people that keep flipping us off, just yelling, cussing, screaming, doing all this stuff when we're out there on the highways. He's marking them. Verse 11, For whoso despises wisdom and nurture, he is miserable, and there is Salakia, and their hope is vain. Their labor is unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. So he said it's not going to end well for the wicked. It's not going to end well. He's going to destroy them in the end. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Daniel. Just Daniel and one more in wisdom, or a couple more in wisdom of Solomon, and then I'll close out. Daniel chapter 12, and I'm going to start verse 3 through 4 and jump down to 10. And it reads, And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So the Lord says the ones that are helping and planting seeds and helping and saving souls out there, he says we're going to shine. Let me read that again. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. The Lord is pleased with us. Verse 4, But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even till the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. And that's why, they got so much technology nowadays, and the knowledge has increased. Verse 10, Many shall be purified and made white. Because nobody's white right now. There's just brown and red. That's all. Brown people and red and pink. In verse 10, Many shall be purified and made white and tried, because white represents the righteousness of the saints. But the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from there, I'm going to go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, 5 through 8, and I'm going to close with that. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, and verse 5 through 8, and it reads, And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded, for Yahweh proved them and found them worthy for himself. So this is talking about the elect. Verse 6, As gold in the furnace hath he tried them, and received them as a burnt offering. Verse 7, And in the time of their visitation they shall shine. Sounds like Daniel here. They shall shine and run to and fro, like sparks upon the stubble. Verse 8, They shall judge the nations, and have dominion over the people, and the Lord shall reign forever. And with that, man,